Before we begin the video, I just want to show you we have these elm trees for sale, Chinese lacebark elm. It's well implemented, it's easy to maintain. After you clip a few times, it will become quite a magnificent tree that's for your liking. Please go to our website. Now you can order it directly from there. Let's continue with the video. Hi, I'm miltonchang of Bonsaiheirloom. Today, I want to talk about how to make your first bonsai in a little bit more detail, in a sense, a more serious way. What you do is that you pick a tree and ideally is to find a nursery tree that is about the right height and right size. But oftentimes you can't find that, and you may have to start from a cutting or a small tree and let it grow. So I want to go through the process of how do you go from a sapling, a cutting sapling, to become a bonsai. And since you're a beginner, I'm not going to go through the big bonsai, which I did in the earlier video, but do a shohin, a small bonsai. You can easily, and I will repot one of these, I think this one, into a pot to make it, show you how to make a shohin bonsai. So I'll go over step by step. And so the process basically, you start with a small tree, like you can take a cutting. This will root very quickly in about 6 weeks and let it grow. In 2 years, you will have a tree like that. In 1 year, you will have a tall tree, and then 2 years, you have a tall tree. You cut it back, and it will start to send out branches for you to side branches to give you design opportunities. And so you let it grow. Ideally, it's just growing in your garden or put it in an oversized nursery pot. Let it grow. Forget about it. Don't even cut it. And then when you look at it, you got a thick trunk and a lot of branching. You got a lot of design opportunities, and then you can work on it in earnest. And then you refine it. In this case, I suggest that you turn a different angle so you have a tree that's growing this way, and then another branch will take over growing this way, sending out a lot of side branches, and you see an opportunity. You turn it this way, so you have a tree this way, this way, this way, to give it a three-dimensionality. It will all become very obvious when you do it. When you listen to me, you don't know what I'm talking about necessarily. And then eventually you put it into a bonsai pot. This, I think, is a very nice shohin. I bought it a year ago, and you can see somebody spent a lot of time on it. And yet there is opportunity for improvement. You can see the root structure here is really quite nice. You got this one coming down, and this one is bumping into that, not so good. And this is quite nice, this not so good. And so, in fact, one of the things you have to do when you start your own tree is to make sure the roots are coming out radially, like grasping the earth. And like this one, it's kind of late. What I'll do is I'll take a chisel and cut off this one, let this one take over, so that part will look okay. And then this part, you see, this looks like an okay root, but this looks like a lump. In Japanese bonsai books, some of the trees will have a big lump like this, which, if you like it, that's fine. But I prefer to have a grasping earth, very powerful structure of the tree. So I actually would take a chisel and cut it this way, a curved chisel, so there would be a root growing this way, very powerful. And cut off this part, let this one come down to be growing down this way. And if necessary, I would air layer here for the roots to come out and cut off this side. In fact, I'll probably cut off this to make it look like coming this way to complement this side. So as you work on a tree, you pay the attention to the nuances, the detail. That's why how much is a tree worth when you buy an old tree? Somebody has spent hundreds of hours figuring out the incremental improvement to improve the tree. That's why I'm so impressed by the bonsai in Japan, where they spend generations refining a tree. Once you get to the stage in a pot, just like a tree that you will be buying from us, what you do is you let it grow wild, and then you cut it back when the tree is like full like that. You cut it back because all of the photolysis would affect the tree. And then when you cut it off, new branches will come out, cause more ramification. make the tree look prettier and prettier year after year. So with that in mind, then I'll quit talking. I will now try to put that tree into this bonsai pot. Now, on the pot, first of all, let's talk about soil. This is just my soil mixed with compost for planting. Not very critical because there's so much forgiveness in the pot size and the soil that the tree will do well almost no matter what you do, so long as you keep it moist and give it fertilizer. But on the other hand, bonsai pot has very little soil and very shallow root ball. Therefore, you really have to be a lot more careful. Bonsai doesn't die unless you let the root ball dries out, just like wood die out of thirst. And so what you need to do is that your bonsai pot typically has a big hole, and we're starting to address this problem by putting a hump there. Well, it didn't quite do it because that's not enough water. So what we did is that the next version, which we're offering in about 3 months, is that 2 holes in the side so that water would drain out and but retain for a couple hours so that the water would be absorbed by the root ball. In short, when the root ball dries out, you think you're watering it, but you're not because water runs right out. But having that little extra retaining wall, it's more or less like putting a soaking tray into the pot. It allows the soil time to hydrate and will not dry out. On the other hand, evaporation will allow the air to go in, reverse osmosis, so that the roots will be healthy. It will not rot, as some people may fear. This is a roll of mosquito net that I bought from Amazon, very inexpensive. And I cut out a piece, a little bit oversized piece, to line the bottom of the pot. So when the root try to penetrate this, it gets girded. So it becomes fibrous roots. That's what you want. You want the big roots to become fibrous roots to feed the tree. And it will make very efficient use of the soil with a limited amount of soil. So with that in mind, then I'll quit talking and try to pot the tree. So what I did is you saw me mixing 1 part sandy loam and 1 part peat moss or coconut coir, and then perlite, and I mixed them well. And the idea is to have a highly carefully blend soil to retain moisture and the fertilizer for an air for a shallow bonsai pot. So before, what I would do to put my soil mix, which is this one already pre-mixed, you can see it's really rich and porous and good for air and good for retention because of the sandy loam from Pescadero. And then I would do is I take a root pruning mesh to put it underneath the pot, and then I will put the tree in and put the soil in. So that's the soil I use, and that's the pot I use. And for the pot we'll be selling in the future, we actually have the drainage hole, so it retains water for several hours for the root ball to absorb it. Now let me take this tree out of the pot. As I said, it's about 3-year-old seedling or cutting and sapling, and I get rid of the roots and I loosen the soil. Now it's getting to be a little bit of tenuous season, late in the season to do repotting. Now it's beginning of May, about almost middle of the May. But if you don't, elm and maple are very vigorous growing trees, so it's probably okay if I don't disturb the roots too much. That said, I still have to do it. As a demonstration, I need to have something to show you rather than just by talking. So you can see this tree has quite a bit of a fibrous roots, and I get rid of the weeds, and then these roots. So you can see it's got enough fibrous roots to be okay for a little while, in a sense of to survive. So if I put this tree in, now I'm a little bit mixed up. I should have kept this away so I got my good soil. I don't want to use the potting soil in the growing pot. And you have to make sure you shove the dirt underneath the tree and firm it up. It's very important that the soil is packed well underneath the tree so it doesn't wobble, and also the soil is in contact with the soil, in close contact with the soil. So these are little important details to keep your tree healthy, easy to maintain, rather than dry out too quickly and be detrimental to the health of the tree. And you want to shove all the roots down. And like I said, you need to push down, firm up the roots underneath. And what you can do is that you can soak it, water it, and then press it again and again a few times. So indeed the tree will be well positioned into the pot. And you can see this is roughly the bonsai that you will be making. Now, you either do it before or after you need to prune the tree. So again, you want to water right away so that the fibrous roots doesn't dry out, because the fibrous roots are fairly small. They can dry out fairly quickly. Now let me work on this bonsai. You can see it's not much to look at now. It's kind of just an informal upright. So in fact, I would not do very much of it, but I have to prune it. And the reason is that I have to stir the roots, and that means that it's not going to supply enough water to the tree. So I got to prune it back very severely, hopefully not damaging too much of the tree. So now I'll pull off some leaves again to conserve moisture, and I'm not really worrying too much about the design because I will have plenty of time to cut off the redundant branch. On the other hand, why shouldn't I cut off some of the redundant branches now? And so let me do that. Let me find my handy dandy clipper. So like this branch is redundant. So I cut it off. Well, this is my bonsai. And after a couple clipping, the tree will look nice. So, and I cut off the netting that's protruding. That's a root pruning net. So you will not know it existed. By having this pruning mesh, root pruning technique, you do not have to repot the tree probably for 5 to 10 years, versus you have to do it every couple years. I must say, Akadama is a very, very good material. I'm not knocking it, except it's high cost, and you have to really replace it every few years because it becomes quite lumpy in the sense of the roots grow into the pellets, and then it couldn't really do it. So I don't know. It's not a great looking tree, but here's a tree. But again, as you work on it, it will improve over time. So this is a quick one about how to make your first bonsai. Again, What's important is the pot design. And if you don't have the pot design, get an aluminum tray for baking and poke the tree in it with the water filled to about a half-inch full or a quarter-inch full or half-inch full from the bottom of the pot to keep the water moist, the root ball moist. And your tree should last forever. And that's what we call our bonsai heirloom to become your heirloom. I hope you enjoy your bonsai, and please tune in next week. Well, thank you very much for watching today's video. Subscribe to our channel and tell a friend. And most importantly, go to our website and sign up to become our VIP so that we can send you announcements of special considerations. Thank you very much. See you next week.